Let's kick this show off. I think we're ready. Everybody's all squared away. James is going to be presenting. And thank you, Theron and Brandon Weber. So Theron from Cable and Connections, he kind of got this squared away with Brandon. And then Brandon, if you want to just give a quick little like intro to what you're doing, and then because you recommended NetAlly, I personally never used the products, but I do want to hear from somebody that uses the products in the field. So take it away real quick, Brandon.
Yeah, so I've been a big fan of NetAlly for years. I mean, it's saved me in many situations. I've had the Link Sprinter for going on about 5 years now. And when I walk into a network as an MSP, I can easily plug this into the network and get much needed information, VLANs, switch names, switch IP addresses, all that fun stuff. And if I run into a situation where, okay, why is this phone not working? It's supposed to be on this VLAN. I'm able to plug this in and detect, make sure that it is getting specific VLANs. Just from an MSP perspective, there's lots that I can gain from just plugging a quick NetAlly tool in, and just tells me everything I need to know. And I mean, to kind of give you some context of how long I've had my Link Sprinter, it's the old yellow and blue model. So I've had it since the Fluke days, but huge fan. And I really wanted to get more information out there of what NetAlly can do and where you can buy it. So that's why I wanted to do this little hot seat.
Cool. Sweet. Thanks, Brandon. I appreciate it.
Mhm.
And also, yeah, thank you, Dan and Darren, Cable and Connections, for helping support this and sponsor it. So, thank you both. Really appreciate you guys hopping on. So let's go ahead and kick this off with. I want to kick it over to James. He's got a presentation lined up for us. So, James, you want to introduce yourself and kind of kick this off? So, thank you.
Yeah. And so on the presentation side, I'm going to try to keep this more on the technical side, talking about layer 1 and 2 stuff, stuff that's kind of appropriate for the audience, and then and not so much about products, right? So this isn't a product pitch. Just so I'm the CTO for NetAlly. And the first thing I want to tell you is kind of who we are, where we came from. So actually, we are the old Fluke, right? So up until about 2015, so Fluke Networks officially started. Let me get a better pointer here. Hang on. Started back here in 93. I had actually joined in 95, early 95, and basically architected the One Touch back in 96. That was sort of the first really usable handheld network tester. And then we continued to evolve a little bit smaller, a little bit bigger, and Etherscope lived on, and Teletone, and anyway, through very Aircheck started getting into Wi-Fi. About 2011. Copper fiber, fiber started to work its way into all the products. The One Touch, this group may know this because this was where, when we were part of Fluke, we used diversive chassis, right? And it was just a different module on the back. So trying to be good team players at Fluke and kind of create a product family. And then here's the Link Sprinter that was just mentioned. I'd actually worked on this product really for about 2 years prior to that. So it's deceptively simple, right? Because on the front, we've taken 5 LEDs and boiled it down to, link and getting a DHCP address, and here's my VLAN and port information. And then coupled with Link Live, all the results automatically go up there. When I think about the cloud stuff, it actually reminds me of an early, I think when I first met Dan Critch, we were actually in Manhattan. It was just after 9/11. So it was difficult to get into customer security. I remember that. But we went out to USIS, and they were a big cable contractor, I think, in New York, and there was a lady, Anita, in the tool crib, and she was just talking about all the woes of, well, at the end of the day, the guys got to bring their testers in, and then I gotta, pull the test results and with the NAP and do this, and then try to merge, and that was actually some of the inspiration for Link Sprinter and using the cloud service, just sort of this zero touch reporting, and so that's kind of how that came about. We added a 10 gig module to the Versive, and then right about here, Fluke decided. Well, it wasn't actually Fluke. It was the company that owned Fluke. Danaher decided to take some other assets they have, and for some reason cleaved Fluke Networks in half and said, we're going to keep all the media certification stuff at Fluke, and we're gonna and we're gonna take you network test guys and sell you off to with the rest of these assets. And so it turns out that NetScout bought us, and then Fluke was pretty adamant, of course, about getting out of their beloved yellow, right? So we had to pick a new color, and we actually fell into the NetScout green at the time. So there were campaigns like this in 2016 as we basically rebranded everything and went through this whole exercise. And then after about 2-3 years with NetScout, they started actually having some of their own kind of financial issues and decided to sell us off. A little bit of a sacrificial offering for the analysts, but we were never in their core competency. I mean, they tried, but everything they did was big rack-mounted boxes, and so having these little handhelds was just a complete one-off for them relative to everything, manufacturing, how they sell things, channel partners, you name it. So we ran as NetScout for a while, and then boom, NetAlly, right? So when we got sold off, we got bought by an equity company, and who basically said, we want you to be your own brand. So that's how NetAlly came about. Some of these products were actually, these were engineered. This, half the stuff was engineered is Fluke Networks, right? And a lot of the guys I work with are still the Fluke Networks engineers. And so, and so we launched the brand about a year ago, and actually about a year, 14 months ago, and then really our first product into the brand was the Etherscope, and that's kind of our Queen Mary. That's the high end of our product line. So, but basically, same people, same innovation, same everything, right? And just kind of going through the corporate, merger and acquisition churn, like a lot of companies end up doing. But we've landed in a good space. We're in more control of our own destiny. At NetScout, we really didn't have a voice at the table, and so. Anyway, so it's actually been pretty good in that regards. We have the wired testers, link sprinters, the bottom end of the line here. Interesting things about the link sprinter. If you're testing in a PoE environment, you don't even need batteries, right? It'll just it'll cold boot up a PoE. Link Runner AT is just kind of a beloved favorite, and then Link Runner G2. This is our first foray into using Android on our testers. And then kind of have the Aircheck over here as a Wi-Fi only tool, and then the Etherscope is sort of a merged wired Wi-Fi tool, and then we just launched a while ago, a few months ago, the Link Runner 10 gig, which was just so we recognized that more people needed to do 10 gig and NBASE-T, the 2.5 and 5 gig stuff. So that gives you a sense of the product lines, but basically, we're us, or you've probably used our tools just even through the Fluke stuff. So Link Live is our complementary cloud service. We've been pretty good about making it free for everyone, unlimited test results, unlimited reports, do everything. There's really some nice use models. You can plug the link sprinter in. Comes in, gets the results, sends it to Link Live. Link Live sends you an email actually with your test results. Here's the email notification right there, right? So you don't even though it doesn't have a screen, you can use the screen on your phone, or it has a little built-in access point where you can connect your phone to it directly and then run it as if it was the UI. And just a lot of power in Link Live for gathering all your test results, adding comments. This email you can reply with like a wall jack, and so basically you end up then building a relationship between the port advertisements from the switches and the wall jacks. He's sort of building like a layer one map out. This switch port ends up in this room or on this wall jack, and you can add as many of those comments as you want. You can reply. You can do that on the testers. You can do that just by replying to the email. You can add it up in Link Live later, and then at any point pick any number of results. There's a lot of organizational capabilities in Link Live. like one thing that would be attractive to this group would be we have a job comment. So as you're going in, I'm going in to do some work for US Bank today. You put US Bank in, and then everything you send up, every comment or every test result, and on the higher end tools, every capture, every discovery, anything you send up automatically gets that job comment. And so it really makes it easy then to just filter on that job in Link Live and then generate a report of just those test results. And then on the reports, you can customize the cover page, so you can put your logo in the corner. We also have exported CSV if you're really a roll your own report guy. So that kind of gives you a sense of the product line. And that's all I'm really going to say about the products. Now I'm going to talk about just trying to show you some stuff that I've sort of learned in the last year or so regarding media and higher power PoE and some of the new speeds and feeds that are coming down the copper. So the first thing I'll say is I mean, thank God that Ethernet doesn't run like a Zuckerberg go fast and break things, right? Because and I think it's really pretty amazing when you take a step back and the amount of effort, it's easier to innovate when you don't have to deal with legacy. When you're dragging along backwards compatibility, whether it's on the wired or the Wi-Fi side, it's a lot harder. So this is kind of interesting. I'd actually taken a 10 gig switch and dragged out an old 1995 One Touch Fluke and plugged it in, and of course it wasn't easy to do the screen capture or anything, but here's a picture of the screen. Sure enough, it came in, it linked, it was getting frames and packets and parsing it. So here's a tool in 1995 that basically was 10100, had no idea that gig was coming, 2.5 gig, 5 gig, 90 watts of PoE, VLANs, none of that stuff, and it worked, right? And I think you just got to take a moment. The IEEE and the people that are working on the standards, and it's the same thing on Wi-Fi, right? You can still connect an old 802.11b client, even to the new APs, and so and that doesn't come easy. So I wanted to just kind of share this awe that I think at least I have about Ethernet and its compatibility. So in fact, this was the original patent, just so I have some street cred here, right? Back in #96, there's me, there's Fluke, right? Same guy. So I wanted to start with that, and really what's happened, I'm going to talk most about copper, is that the amount of data that they can cram over any piece of media has just gotten better and better in terms of communications. And so if you and I'm going to do this two different ways. I know, I'm going to pull Wi-Fi into this a bit too, but what it's really come down to is when you look back at the old, 100 base T over that good old, let's just say Cat5 cable, nothing special about it. There were just 3 voltage levels that represented a 1 or a 0, right? And then they got to gigabit, and they said, hey, basically either you got to clock the data faster down the wire, or for every piece of data you're clocking, you got to have more resolution, right? And so that's, besides the clock speed changes, the other thing that's really happening under the hood as you're running over legacy copper is they're putting more levels. So PAM5 was this 5-level thing, and what it really came down to was A to Ds were getting better about looking at the line and faster, and digital signal processing was getting better about discerning these levels, so that even if there's some noise on this guy and he was wiggling around, it still could kind of discern which of these 5 levels you were at any point in time. So now fast forward, right? Look at 10 gig base T. Holy mackerel! You went from 1 volt differentiation between the data to, get that out of the way, to a half a volt. Now we're at 133 millivolts. I mean, that's not much when you think about that cable running around through noisy environments and fluorescence and impulse motors and all the stuff, or shoot, just bundle crosstalk, right? Just alien crosstalk. So that's kind of what's happened on the line coding side. Just sort of educationally and interestingly, that's exactly what's happened on the Wi-Fi side. As they've gotten to higher speeds, they've just gotten better about jacking more data into every moment of time. And so as we get to like the latest standard 802.11ax, they're just, this has gone from, I mean, Wi-Fi is actually accelerated even faster than wired. But it just comes down to how many bits you can jack down the wire in any given time slice. So interestingly enough, it all comes down to, if I can go to the next slide. Hang on, why no advance? Hang on. There we go. It all actually comes down to this guy named Claude Shannon, and he's pretty interesting. If you go Google him, he's actually kind of the modern father of communications. I mean, he doesn't get like the recognition Turing gets. Didn't get a movie or any of that, but pretty fascinating guy. Anyway, but basically he said, hey, the maximum amount of stuff we can jack across a piece of cabling or through the air or whatever is limited by kind of the signal levels and the noise level, right? So this is kind of tale as old as time here. So when you think about it from on the wired side over here, right? So one of the things you'll see in most of our products is an auto downshift. Even in Link Sprinter, it will, if it tries to link at gig, in other words, you only need one pair to know what the switch is advertising, right? It's advertising either on 1, 2, or 3, 6. And in there it's saying, here's the speeds and duplexes that I can do. So if it says, hey, I can do gigabit, but then we go into to link up a gigabit, all of a sudden, we're using all 4 pairs, and we're doing kind of, for the old folks here, kind of doing all the modem negotiation stuff, basically equalizing the lines, trying to get all the stuff to link. If we can't make that link happen at a gig for any reason, it could be like pin 7 is open, something that simple. But if we can't make that sucker link, then we're going to downshift to 100 megabits, because we still want to let you know, hey, it works, but not a gig. And so we would tend to link with a yellow LED instead of a green LED. And that philosophy holds true kind of throughout the products. And in the most extreme case is running 10 gig copper over, or 10 gig traffic over copper, right? And so we'll literally, at some point, there's just too much noise, then we downshift again, and could even degrade all the way to 1 gig. I mean, in general, it's pretty impressive. To me, the interesting thing about copper and media is the whole certification process is really more of a manufacturer warranty game than will it actually carry the traffic. Because we always joked, well, you can run gigabit over barbed wire, and you almost can. I mean, the DSPs have gotten that good, right? So, but it doesn't separate the fact that you're pulling cable, you're installing it, you got to provide a report as proof of installation to the person who commissioned you. So, but it's always been an interesting business to me. So, but anyway, so we will downshift accordingly. One thing I will say, and we've proven this out internally a fair number of times, is if it links, it will carry the data. In other words, the link negotiation is more rigorous than the data communication that's going to happen after that. If your PHYs link over, let's say, you got 100 meters, 300 feet of copper, and you got a 10 gig switch on one end and a 10 gig thing, if it links at 10 gig, it will carry the traffic. You're not going to have any data loss to that traffic because the link is more rigorous in terms of really making sure that it's got a clean wire than the data will actually be. So not to go too much into the Wi-Fi, it's basically the same thing. When you're really close to APs, you can run higher speeds, right? So you'll go to this higher 10 bits per symbol instead of 8 bits per symbol, right when you're near the AP, because you're getting a strong signal from the AP and you're not getting as much noise, right? And then that kind of fades as you move away. So there's a lot in common between wired and Wi-Fi. It's all rooted in this Shannon stuff. So the one thing that's just fascinated me from the get-go is N-base-T, right? Because the reality is the vast majority of cabling, Cat5 cabling, was installed before more than gigabit existed, and so it's interesting that they just and really N-base-T was Cisco, I believe, saying, hey, we want to sell access points are getting faster, as Wi-Fi is getting faster. We need more than a 1 gigabit data feed to an access point. We want to sell you the newest, fastest access point. The barrier to customers buying that was, well, how do they get more than 1 gig? Because either you had to, and you saw this for a while in the market, either had to pull a second cable to the access point, and so this whole which actually then the cable installation would potentially cost more than the AP. So it just sort of doubled your upgrade costs. But there's still a fair number of APs out there that have two 1 gig feeds coming into them. But N-base-T is really taking off now, and you see it across Aruba and Mist and Cisco and everybody else, right? It's almost hard to buy a higher end AP, an enterprise AP that isn't supporting N-base-T. But it's pretty fascinating to me. But I got really curious about, well, how far can I push this N-base-T stuff, right? So we have a box in our lab. We call it the cable coffin, right? But it's basically just a bunch of different lengths of cables in here. And whenever we're trying to look at TDR or create certain situations, I can kind of cascade any number of these. I can cascade 50 feet with 100 feet to make 150 feet, and different cable types, and then all that wire's just goobered up in here. So I pulled out the cable coffin and I said, okay, let me take actually I had an N-base-T, a 5 gig switch, and run it over 100 foot of media, and you could see that actually the switch was advertising up to 5 gig, and my actual speed was 5 gig. So I was good at 100 feet running N-base-T over just some old Cat5. This is our nomenclature. In the product, we show what the switch is advertising it can do in gray, and then the actual is in dark. So, and it's the same thing on the duplex here. It can do half or full duplex. We negotiated to full duplex. So then I in between here were a bunch of steps where I just kind of kept adding, 50 feet, 20 feet. And let me just kind of keep building the cable out, right, in length and then when I got to 210 feet, across Cat5, then suddenly it wouldn't run at 5 gig anymore. It downshifted to 2.5 gigs. So the switch was saying, hey, I can do 5 gig, but in the process of link negotiation, we dropped down. So that was at 210 feet. But another observation, this is just something you have in your back pocket, right? What I really noticed was, when this happens, the PHY is trying like heck, right? So it's retrying and it's trying to go at 5 gig and 5 gig, but it's just taking longer to link, right? So if you're ever just trying to sort out something that's happening across a drop with the customer or something like that, if you can take that same client, plug it in right at the switch and see how long it takes to link. Not that I'm, I'd love to have you buy our testers, but this is something you can just do without buying a thing. So, and Dan's should probably be kicking me under the table right now, but that's okay. So anyway, bottom line is it's how hard the PHY is working to link up. And so what I really observed was, while it was taking me back here over 100 feet, I'd link up in like 3-4 seconds. It was taking 22 seconds on my stopwatch for this thing to link up. So one back of the pocket trick you could have is take a client next to the switch, nice clean, whatever, 1 meter patch cable, links up, take note, and just look at the LEDs. So yeah, it took about 3-4 seconds, right? Go to the other end of the cable, plug it in, watch. If you see that it's taking longer to link up, that probably means that it was trying, and then it kind of backed down, then had to back down to the next level and maybe try a little bit there. And anyway, the PHYs just have to work harder and that's where the time's going. So kind of wanted to just share that little trick and technique. The other thing that's interesting about running all this more than gigabit stuff over copper media is impulse noise, and this is real. So what was interesting was we first started, in fact, when we were developing the Etherscope, one way that we can qualify media, and this is the high end way, but you can run a 10 gigabit. I'm going to just blast data 10 gigabits for up to 24 hours. And if there's ever one packet that doesn't get through, I'm going to count that as a lost frame, right? So I was noticing at home running over, in fact, we had these nice super triple certified, Cat 6 cables or Cat 7 cables, the ones you can barely bend. So I'm running at home, directly connected, and I would still see the occasional frame loss from time to time when I was running these 24-hour tests. And we really thought it was in the product. We're like, oh boy, we have a noise problem or something's going on. And kind of drove us crazy for about a week, and then really started to understand how much of a factor impulse noise is on pushing these higher data rates over existing copper, even new copper, and it goes back to what I was showing you. When you've only got 130 millivolts between each discernible bit of information, that doesn't take much noise or impulse, right? It doesn't take too much stuff flying through the air. Well, it turns out this is kind of a known phenomena. If you look at pulling our hair out, thinking it's the product, doing all kinds of experiments, and it turns out in the end, it's just kind of a known thing, right? And it depends on sort of the desk chair. Turns out I had a mesh chair, and whenever I didn't really correlate the fact that it was me moving around in that, maybe I had a wool sweater on, and boop, there goes a little spark impulse noise, and so it actually turns out this is a real thing. So this electrostatic discharges will definitely create an impulse on the wire, and here you can see there's 60 millivolts. Actually, there's probably 100 millivolts of swing right there. Boom, you just trashed your data, right? And this was just touching a chair, Cat 5 unshielded, and so they talked about how this is going to impact libraries and all sorts of desk chair things, but it's I just thought it was kind of funny that at the end it came down to the type of chair you had, right? Low cost probably has more nylon, that maybe generates more static. Anyway, so if you get in a situation with some customer and they're questioning your media, and they're saying, I'm getting frame loss, just have it in the back of your head that it could be environmental, and it could be some sort of some ESD events, and it could be as simple as somebody getting in and out of their chair. It sounds crazy, but it's true. So in fact, we went to create it up in the lab, right? So because we had actually kind of observed it too, and it turned out it just happened to be that above our ESD table in the lab, we've got this wall air conditioning unit, and sure enough, whenever that sucker would turn on, like the motor impulse was enough through the air that even with good cabling here, it was disrupting, and we were getting frame loss at those points in time. So and then of course we said, we can recreate it. So this is actually an ESD gun. This thing will, throw whatever 10K on the little metal tip there, and then we set up a little steel panel here to ground, and then you can kind of discharge, right? So started just, let me just create some sparks in the air, right? And because it's controllable, I can also control the voltage on this and everything. Sure enough, every time I sparked, boom, boom, there you'd see frame loss to that data transmission. So anyway, just want you to be aware, if you get called to task for your cabling, your cabling may be just fine. It's actually just kind of a known phenomenon as you start jacking N-base-T and 10 gig down the wire. Alien crosstalks. I'll talk about this for a second. So of course this is all the noise in the bundles, and this gets down into the sort of the what's the signal to noise versus the type of stuff you're running. In fact, remember I was trying to run 5 gig And then when I got up to about 200 feet, it wasn't able to get there, and it was only able to give me link at 2.5 gig. That was the example I showed before. But basically, you can run, NBASE-T in general on shorter lengths, and it's probably going to depend on the quality of the installation and some of that characteristic stuff. But anyway, yeah, this is but it is also dynamic. It's a function of who else is in the bundle around you and what they're doing. And so one measurement we did add on the Ether scope, like a couple release cycles ago, was actually when you're linked now in the linked card, we now show the signal to noise ratio and the SNR, and as well as the delay skew. Delay skew is the difference in the arrival time of the packets. They're all sent at the same time, but across the 4 different pairs, when did we actually see them? And what's the variance there? And so, delay skew is the whole, not all 4 lengths are created equally, right? Because one of the pairs is kind of wrapping around the other 3, let's say. Well, then you end up with more length there. More length means more time for the electrons to get through there. And so then that means more skew. So that's kind of where delay skew is coming from. But we let you set a threshold, and instead of being nice and clean, so here I'm on a 10 gig link, but this, boy, for whatever reason on B, which I think is 3.6, I think it's 1, 2, 3, 6, 4, 5, 7, 8, then was having SNR issues. So that's kind of how we sort of attack that in our products. We're not a cable certifier, but I'll tell you what, you run data over that piece of media for 24 hours. I mean, just bajillions of packets are being sent, and we're literally looking at every one of them, looking for an FCS and accounting for it. And it's also interesting back here, when you run that test, you'll get this. If I could scratch this out, you can see all 24 hours in here. So you might be able to figure out, oh yeah, it's when they came through to buff the floor, or 2 a.m. something happened, or about every hour, or when the refrigerator turned on, or during lunch break, or whatever. So it's nice to have this sort of long-term 24-hour jacking all the bits down the wire you can, looking for any frame anomaly, and then marking it in time. So that's that. So the takeaways here for you, hopefully, are, link time is indicative of the PHY working harder and potentially downshifting. So keep an eye on that link light. Impulse noise matters as your customers are putting higher speeds and NBASE-T and 10 gig across the cable plant. Cable length matters. What worked at 100 meters downshifted at 210 meters. Actually pretty cool that it was able to downshift, the distance. Can't link, I'm done. And then of course the amount of time that any piece of cabling is in the bundle matters, right, in terms of alien crosstalk. So that's sort of the speeds, the link speed size. So I have a little more for you on PoE, especially pertinent for the low voltage nascent. I mean, I'm in awe, as much as I'm in awe of the fact that I can take a 25-year-old network tester that I designed and plug it into the newest 10 gig switch that I just bought, and still see who's on the network. Unbelievable. Equally as impressive is the amount of power that they've learned how to jack down the wires, right? I mean, the notion of delivering power over the same media that's carrying the signaling, the data, is crazy, right? But that, and it's been fascinating to watch PoE go from just simple 13 watts at the PD, the endpoint. It's really driven by phones. It was Cisco wanted to do VoIP phones, and realized that a huge barrier to that, because POTS, the good old 2-wire POTS, right? The 48 volts just came over the wire, right? So you got your voltage and your tip and ring off that, right? But in the case of this, they realized that, wow, a big barrier to people using VoIP phones is going to be if they gotta come up with you got to be near an AC outlet, and you got to have a wall wart and plug this darn thing in. And so they figured out how to put power. You only needed 4 or 5 watts to run a phone, depending on if it had a display or not. But 13 watts of power, and then this has just kind of grown, right, from being just 2-pair PoE to PoE plus. We're still using 2 pairs, and then it said, hey, we can use all 4 pairs, and even start getting higher power. And so this right now is class 8 here is the highest power class in 802.3BT, which is the 90 watt at the PSE at the switch, 71 watts guaranteed at the endpoint across 100 meters, and so in our products we have something called true power, and this is where we load the line. So we will advertise for whatever class of power you want, and there's different ways to advertise: hardware advertisements, LLDP advertisements, things like that. But basically, we've got the equivalent of a light bulb in the product, and so I wanted to test and see how much power is really being dropped across the same cable, right? Because I saw how I had to downshift my speed at 210 feet, right, relative to you're thinking, I can usually play within 300 feet. That's the IEEE criteria. So I took a laboratory grade power supply. I didn't have to worry about a switch doing any antics or anything. And then took this is a Linear Devices. This is a little PSE board that basically has their PoE controller, but basically you can see 55 volts there, right? But basically with this honking power supply where I knew dedicated to literally just one port, right? No power budgeting or any of this other switch stuff I got to worry about. And then took a cable and would do the PoE measurements on what is the ether scope. So at 10 feet across a cable, I basically had, and I remember that the board wasn't doing class 8, it was a class 7, but I asked for 70 watts. I got 70 watts. I got basically 70 watts. You can see it there. But the voltage only dropped about 1 volt. So at 10 feet over a 3-meter patch cable, I lost a volt basically, and so I'm still well in the range here, right? The minimum voltage is 41. On some of the older stuff, it was even lower, 37. But just probably to be safe, let's just say 41. So then I went out at 100 feet, again, kind of using this cable, coffin Cat 5 cable, and unloaded 55 volts, loaded at 70 watts, again delivered the power, but the voltage dropped more. Right now it's dropping 3 volts. I went out to 210 feet because I had that already rigged up, right, from doing that was where the link dropped from 5 gig to 2.5 gig. So at this point I wasn't able to parametrically carry, in terms of signaling, carry the data, and it took longer to link, but I was still able to carry the voltage just fine. I got my 70 watts out at the endpoint through all this, and I dropped 5.1 volts, but still well above the 43 volts there. So then I was like, well, how let me go a little longer, right? So then I said, all right, let me go out to the full length here, beyond the full length. And so I went out to 350 feet, and there I was dropping 8.3 volts. And so, but again, was still able to get the power. So maybe as you're thinking, as you're dealing with higher power PoE, right, to feed cameras or heck, I mean, these days, you can run like a 50-inch display off of PoE, right, for digital signage. There's so many high power, digital ceiling, right, LED trophers and things like that, right? So as you're doing that, and my observation and kind of the conclusion here is that the data, as I was going through the distance, the PoE actually fared pretty well, right? But the signaling, the link speeds suffered before the PoE. So I think that's all I have. So anyway, we can go Q&A, but like I said, I just want to kind of share some of these observations I had, and hopefully they'll help you as you're going through your day jobs.
James?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah, this is Dan Critch. Hey, is it possible to go over, you went over a lot. Maybe go over the products that we have on some of the features of the new products, like the Link Runner 10 gig.
Yeah, got it.
And the Aircheck with the new survey abilities in it.
Okay, I will do that. Like I said, I was trying to steer away from product stuff, but since you ask, so Aircheck G2, this is our basic Wi-Fi tester. We have a little test accessory that is basically a derivative of Link Sprinter, but it runs as an iPerf server, so you can run throughput tests to it. And so what we've added here in the last 6 to 8 months is just this drop dead simple way to do Wi-Fi surveys. And so you, in fact, in the release coming out mid-January, you can literally take, you need a floor plan image, right? Now it doesn't have to be sophisticated, right? You could take the picture of the fire escape map, off the back of a door, right? Just to have a sense of where you are in the building and all that other stuff. But basically, it allows you to do site surveys. We continue to augment this capability. It basically they end up in Link Live. I could probably even go into Link Live and show you one of the surveys there live and slice and dice through some of the data. But this might be something where if you're actually installing the APs and looking for some value add services to sell, the next thing might be, hey, I can do surveys, because it's a fairly expensive thing to bring in a professional high-end kind of survey person. So, but basically, so that's the Aircheck. Air Mapper is our trade name for the survey stuff, and that's Aircheck. Link Sprinter, this has just kind of been tried and true. We already talked about this. Link Runner AT, nearest switch. It loads PoE up to 25 watts. It's a little bit older product. Almost all of our wireline tools that I'm showing here have the ability to do cable testing. So they can do TDR, they can do pin for pin wire mapping, they can do toning, and on the toning they can do either analog tone with a couple patterns there, or they can do digital toning and teletone, and that works with the Fluke probe. And so Link Runner AT, Link Runner G2, kind of one notch up, bigger screen, touch screen, right? This is still using keyboard here. This is where we first upped into 90 watt PoE testing, just kind of easier to use, touch operation. As many test targets, better, has a bunch of other things on there, right? You can put your trouble ticketing apps on there. We have a browser on there. You can any Android app from any vendor, right? Because you might be installing a camera from Axes, and so there's like a bunch of Axes apps, and almost all the vendors have apps that run on Android that you can install on this platform. That's why it says replaces multiple tools, copper or fiber, right? SFP here. And then Link Runner 10 gig, this is our most recent product. This will do layer 1 through 7 testing. It'll function in a line rate performance testing role. It has this auto testability. This is, to test everything's reachable, and as discovers all the devices on the network. It'll do topology mapping now in Link Live. This is really sort of a high-end, MSP tool, if you will. But it'll basically do. And here's media test right there, and it'll also run the Air Mapper stuff, Wi-Fi analysis, discovery. You name it. It'll do the air mapping. Actually, I'm sorry. This doesn't have Wi-Fi. So I'm skipping ahead here. So then Etherscope is where. So Link Runner 10 gig is basically like having an Etherscope without the heavy Wi-Fi, the heavy test Wi-Fi radio in it. So this is our top of our product line, NBASE-T 10 gig Wi-Fi, all six link speeds, and performance testing. You name it. This thing does so much. I can literally do a 2-hour demo on this product alone. So that's that. Ally Care is our support packages, and which quick unit exchanges, software updates. There's some additional bonus features in Link Live you get with Ally Care. So that's that on the products.
James.
Jay.
Oh, sorry.
Well, I was going to ask about the Wi-Fi analysis report. I think you said you might be able to pull one up real quick.
Yeah,
is that possible?
Yeah. Let me stop my share.
Because I know a lot of us in LVN, we do a lot of Wi-Fi installs, and having that as an added service to their line of business would be good, in my opinion.
Yeah. All right. Let me see if I can get to a. Let's see here.
And then sorry to step on you, Dan. I think it was Dan was trying to chime in.
Let's see here. Let me get into an account and see if I can. Walmart. Find that. Let's see. Actually, let me do this guy. All right. Let me share in my. Let me see. Did I share in my whole screen? Are you seeing all this?
No, you stopped the screen.
Okay. Oh, that's right. I stopped the screen share. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah,
sorry.
you're good.
Okay, here we go. All right. Yeah, let me
you
just
on
go
the
back
spot.
to
Sorry about that.
No, you're good. You're good. All right. Well, that's obviously not the one I was looking for. Let's see. Let me go to this thing. You ever notice how these tool things are always right where you don't want them? All right. So let's see here. All right. Let me come over. Let me try this on the test stack. I'll just get a new tab. Sorry, I'm getting blocked here by the Zoom thing. Let's see here. Okay, so I'm gonna go. Let me try. I'll try the test stack. We were a little flaky there earlier. So here's a bunch of surveys I did over time, and I'll pick something. Let me try this Walmart guy. I was struggling with him a little.
I hope this is not sensitive information. I'll have to blur it out.
No, it isn't. It isn't. So,
Okay,
what I did was I just went onto the Walmart webpage and pulled that little store locator thing where the aisles are, right? So that's everything public there. And then I'm just worried about the stack here. Oh, there we go. And let's see here. Yeah. All right. Beautiful. Good. All right. So I walked in the front here, came in, and I walked around, went back by the electronics section here, and then kind of did the toilet paper run, right? And then in fact, so as you're doing the survey, so you can see the same floor plan. You just go, I'm here, right?
Yeah.
And then basically so Link Live, super easy here. First you could filter, right? So your customer would say, hey, I have a production network, and my production SSID. I mean, you see I tell you what's mind-boggling whenever you do this thing. You realize there's like 300 transmitters in this building, right?
Exactly.
Why it's just mind-blowing, right? How much RF we're being hit with. So here's the Walmart SSID. So now I'm filtering. That's the filter chip there on the Walmart SSID, and then typically there's like some sort of criteria, like, well, I need minus 70 everywhere. So you can see that I had no problems with that, in fact. But we'll here just so I can see. Okay, so now you can see I set it to minus 60, and you can see, well, we didn't quite make minus 60 as I was going in and out of the building, right here, or there's a little problem here in the bread aisle. And then of course I could turn off my path. I could these comments on the unit, you can at any point just add a comment. So I just added, this is the stuff in the front of Walmart. So there's an ophthalmologist, there's FedEx, there's a salon, here's the Subway. This aisle was blocked, so I couldn't do it. So it kind of lets you catch observations as you're doing the walk, right? And just again, it's super easy to grab on the product. And so you sit here and you go, wow, well that's pretty good coverage. So I'll go ahead and click on this. Well, the reason it's so good is because they've got so many freaking APs. So, I mean, so at any location, but let's just pick right here, right? I was seeing 28 APs with the Walmart SSID, right? And these are all different. Oh man, this panel is always in my way. Sorry. So here, pull this over. And that's still in my way, darn it. Hang on. There we go. Okay, now I got it. All right. So here's at any point you can click, and then we'll show you everything we saw. So here's the Walmart SSID. This is what I filtered to. There's the BSS IDs, the signal level, and then in these columns you can sort, right? The weakest. So at that point, I saw it on channel 104. These AP names we parse out of all the major vendors. So in this case, in fact, this is AP US 3227 happens to be the store number. In fact, if you Google Walmart 3227, it's that's the Monument store. Yep. Okay. So, but you can just come in here and immediately tell. Well, but you know what? Everybody was configured well, the same minimum basic rate. There were no outliers here. In fact, even from a security standpoint, you might see something advertising the Walmart. Let's say somebody propped up a little man in the middle honeypot thing, right? And they say, "Oh, I'm going to put on a Walmart Wi-Fi." In their SSID, I'll broadcast that. It's already open, right? So there's not like there's any security going on. Well, you'd be able to look at this and even go, well, hold it. It's the basic rate was lower, or the types that were available is different, or the Mac manufacturer Mac here is why does that one look unlike the others? And so you'd even be able to sort, right, to bring those to the top. In fact, there's one right there. This looks like a little bit of an outlier. But everything else looks good, and it's got a real legit. In fact, you can see this one's even like out. It's almost like a different model. And just even looking at this number, everything else, all their other APs are kind of on a grid scheme, right? 100s, 200s, 300s, and then anyway. So that guy would be interesting to go. Oh, in fact, well, let's try this. Now that I can put my money where my mouth is. So there's that outlier there, that 811 guy. You could come in here and say, well, hey, let's on Walmart Wi-Fi. Now let me go down to that funny looking guy here, 811. There he is. Apply him, and then let me bring this back down, and then. So you could actually start to locate then where he is, right? So if I kind of keep changing my cutoff level here, you could see that I stopped seeing him. Let's see here. Sorry, one more down. So somewhere over in here, right? And I didn't walk in this part. I bet if I was over here, we'd see him further over here. So it probably wasn't a good pick from that standpoint, but very easy to basically pick, filter, and then whatever you're doing for the customer, right? So here's the heat map types: signal, noise, signal to noise, co-channel interference. This is how many channels are on a given AP, and so here, let's do this. All right, so if I said I want to do co-channel interference, and I want to worry about APs when they're above -85, and I want to do it on channel. Let's pick, typically not so well. Actually, 6 is usually a worse channel. Take that guy out of there. We auto scale this. All right, that's probably not the best demo there. Let me think, what's going on here? Hang on. And I will warn you, I'm on the test stack, so all things are dubious. Let's see, co-channel interference on channel 6. Apply that. Interesting. Sorry. Yeah, something's not quite right there. Let me try a little different one here. Let's try adjacent channel interference. So adjacent channel interference is when there's other things running that are you're on a legitimate channel, and there's other APs that are on bad channels that are interfering with you. So I could take a look at this and say, well, it was actually worse here by the entrance. What's going on? There were 3 adjacent channel interferers, and if I come over here then I would see, so I'm legitimately on channel 6, and I could click on adjacent channel interferers, and I'm getting 3 APs, and I bet they're in those upfront shops there. But basically, yeah, Twinkly, I don't know what that is, but basically there's a bunch of APs that are running up in the front of the store there that are running on channels they shouldn't be, right? So things should only run on 1, 6, and 11. So this guy's running up on channel 4, that guy's running on channel 8, and this guy's on channel 1, but he's wide, right? So you can run on channel 1, 6, and 11, but if you run something 40 megahertz wide instead of 20 megahertz wide, it's going to start crapping out on, it's going to start interfering with 6, so channel 6. So you can just kind of see how you can come in here, pick any location, and then if you wanted to document this for the customer, you could just say, hey, you know what? I want to add that to a report, and then I could have some other thing. You know, typically what you're going to want to show is signal capacity, you know, on an SSID, and so but you could then add that to that report. And then here's a list of things that will be included in the report. And then whenever you're ready, generate a PDF. And here's, you could put your logo here, put labels you want. There's a header. It'll generate a nice title page and all that. So you generate something you can hand off to your customer there. The other interesting thing I'll say about let's see, so what other stuff can I show you here? Yeah, so TX rates, sometimes that's what they want to map. Sometimes it's about interference if you're troubleshooting a Wi-Fi problem versus installation and just trying to prove that the signal or the signal to noise ratio is good throughout the site. So that gives you a sense of kind of the air mapper capability. And we just added the ability now where you can you can create the floor plan projects and push them down. Actually, I got to go out one level for that, and into the testers. So you can be sitting at your desk, have some guy in the field, you know, send down whatever you want, and away you go. At the same time, and I'll show this to you. This is just kind of interesting too. At the same time that I did that walkthrough, we were also doing discovery and of the network. And so this is actually the topology of the Wi-Fi again. And the only credentials, I just happened to log into the Walmart Wi-Fi, but just to give you, this is another visualization we're working on besides the survey, but it could be another thing that you would provide within this report that you would give a customer. So let me do this. Let me spread these networks out and let me shorten the edges. All right. So this was, these were all the different AP. In fact, see the APIS there? There's all the APs that you can see in their network. I can then come in and zoom in on any of these. If I wanted to document something, I can just do save image, and there's a PNG of it. So you not only have so this happened simultaneously. I wasn't a separate walk. On one walk, I was able to do the passive survey. Starting mid-January, you'll be able to do an active 1-by-1 survey at the same time, and then at the same time we were discovering the network. And just to kind of show you some of the controls here quickly. So, you know, it's funny, you look at this and I see these ZebraTech things, right? And so turns out those are scanner guns, right? That's the manufacturer, Zebra. And then some of these have IP addresses on. So if I go to look at the devices, I can see that, oh yeah, there's a couple of Apples and some local thing. Murad is actually Samsung, turns out, and then you can kind of pick whether, if we know the address, we'll show you the address. But I can pick the SSID, and when you look at this, you'll see that all the Zebra scanner guns are connected on this funny SSID, MEBIU, whatever. Right? So that's obviously a separate network that they're running, and a separate SSID that they are running for their scanner guns. But you can kind of see how it's just easy to come in here and, what channels are things connected on, what are the media types. There's actually a bug we're fixing on that right now, security type, and all that. So, and we'll do this on wired networks too. In fact, we do it very extensively on wired networks. But it gives you, in fact, I can come in here and go, oh, that's interesting. There's something yellow, right? And then you can click on any of these and double click, and I can see problems. Oh, this this AP was changing channels. So just in the short amount of time that I was walking through the store, this AP had changed channels 4 times. And that's indicative of something going on in the area, right? In general, APs want to stay on the same channel, should stay on the same channel, but it's because maybe it's a security thing. Somebody propped up a rogue AP and this AP decided to pick a different channel, or maybe there's some noise that was coming and going. But you just kind of see how easy it is to, even when you're looking at a fairly expansive network, to kind of pick out the yellow, double click on anything. And in fact, here's a client down here that's yellow. What was his problem? You know, he had high frame retry, so he obviously was not having a healthy connections. LG device on channel 11. So, but on the 2.4 gig, you know, store Wi-Fi, free Wi-Fi. So what do you expect? So anyway, so you can kind of see our 2 visualizations there, right? We're driving with heat maps and survey stuff. We're driving topology views. And I'm trying to be mindful of the time since I see I'm over, so I'll stop there.
Yeah, this is really good because we want to give reports to the customers. Anything that we can provide that detailed, we're all about really detailed information, and that's super beneficial for the customer. And then stacking on to additional product offerings. So yeah, thank you for that. Did have one question.
Sure.
What's coming out next year? We have just a few minutes left. If you could just give a brief rundown as what you guys got coming out next year.
Yeah, next year we're looking to a few things. We need to refresh a couple of the products, a couple of the older products. We need to get 802.11ax running natively inside of the products. We handle AX, we can survey AX, but if not, we don't natively link it on AX. Things like that. I don't want to give away too much, but we'll continue to add additional features to Link Live and improve the reporting there, and just a variety of things. And basically, what I can do to give you some perspective is, if you look at, and I'm sure probably should have a list of all the stuff we just did in the last year, but literally we did the Etherscope, then we launched this whole Air Mapper thing, then we added that to Aircheck, then we had launched the Link Runner 10 gig. We announced a secure version of the more for the Fed customers and things like that, a controlled edition version of Etherscope where you can dial back certain functionality, like, you can't have a browser in a prison, or you can't have a camera in a sewage plant, or whatever. And then basically we've been releasing new code on Aircheck every 3 to 6 months. We release Link Live. We add a handful of new features every month. So we're just continuing to drive forward on all the technologies.
Cool. Dan, your hand is raised. Did you have a question or something to chime in with?
Well, yeah. So I've been fortunate to sell these tools for as long as James has been making them. And this last feature he went over with the wireless is just an amazing piece. It works on a tiny little product. I sell software that's $5,000. It does the same thing that this little app that he makes on the Aircheck. So this is, if you're doing doctor's offices, you're doing hospitals, whatever you're doing, if you have wireless there, you can use this tool and all the other tools he's made. It's just amazing stuff that he's coming out with, and more is to come, and with this new company. So that's all I wanted to add. It's a really great product.
I mean, you can really do some really, generate different heat maps, filter. Most places are going to have multiple SSIDs. So, well, there's 36 in the Walmart, right? But you're going to have 3 or 4 or 5, whatever. But you generate a separate report page for each heat map on different SSIDs and different characteristics of the network. Do a little bit of generate some problem spot stuff with AP coverage or interference problems or all that. You can generate a pretty robust report.
James, can I interrupt you?
Sure, of course.
And this is all, once you have the product, you're not paying an annual fee, which a lot of the other products I used to sell, things I sell still, you have to pay an annual fee for licensing. You're not paying an annual fee for this app on this device, right? As long as you have the extended warranty on the product, you're good.
Exactly.
It's a great product, and it's way simpler than anything else on the market.
Yeah, we've always been striving, to keep our licensing clean and, not charge for the cloud service and all that. And so, yeah, any number of test results, pictures, screen captures, packet captures, right? You have asset unit management here. Here's different units in my account. Here's different files, right? Whether it's screenshots off of products or packet captures. Here's the apps you can run on the, here's, our app store is mostly vendor apps, right? You can see AP Installer from Aruba Networks, some Cisco stuff, Axis cameras, and then here's Wi-Fi. You can let's see here. Let me go ahead around this for a second. Yeah. So you can also, the other thing you can do with the Wi-Fi is at the same time we're doing the survey is you can also generate this report, which is more the tabular thing. If you don't want to do the heat maps, you can at least generate reports. Here's your channels, how they were used, a number of any channel, right? Of course, channel 1, 26 SSIDs from 33 APs. So lots of ability here to generate, again, different reports of SSIDs, APs,
okay,
BSSIDs. It just goes on and on. So yeah, there's a lot of data gathered, a lot of information, and a lot of reporting capability.
Can I interrupt you again, James?
Of course.
Simple training too. There's like 6 small, short little videos that go over how to use this one feature that James keeps talking about. From 5 to 12 minutes long in each section, besides having good support at the headquarters too. So it's not something that it might seem intimidating with all this information, but it's pretty simple once you start playing with it.
Yeah, our goal on the Air Mapper stuff was to make it every person's Air Mapper. In fact, it just happened to have the Walmart survey here, but it was like, okay, we need to make this so that the Walmart greeter can do this, because what we were seeing in the market was the survey stuff was just these high-end, clunky, expensive, heavily licensed things that only an expert could run. And we literally wanted to make it so that you could basically have the person at the front desk pick up the unit and just, I'm at this pillar, I'm in this aisle, I'm here, boom, 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 boom. Data goes up to the link live. You need to be on site to have it done, right? So we tried to just make it as simple and streamlined was our goal from day one with AirMapper. It's kind of like the everyman's Wi-Fi survey, and then the fact that it's all in link live. Oh, by the way, here's another on the server side. When you get any of these surveys, you can then take them. You could even build out a free account on Link Live for your customer and put his information in there, and then he could slice and dice. So you could even say, hey, I'll give you the report, but you know what? Here's all the data, that I saw at that point in time. And so you can do that on both the all the surveys or the topology stuff. Build out an account for them, or you can invite them into your organization. So a lot of ability to share data there.
James, real quick, why shouldn't you use a cell phone with Wi-Fi analyzer on it?
Well, you don't get noise. You can't see promiscuous packets. You can't see clients. You won't be able to see adjacent channel, co-channel stuff. There's just a lot that's missing there. And yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, look at all this information we have, across the board, right, around any BSSID. And then again, this is all sortable. Here's within wherever this was. There's things running 20 megahertz. There's things that are running. I'll get down here, right? Here's some guys that are hogging, 40 megahertz. Yeah, just lots of data about everything that you normally wouldn't get.
Cool. I don't see any other questions. Does anybody else have any questions from the attendees? Any hand raised?
Blake?
Yeah.
So this is Darren. I don't know. We're running the end of the time. I don't want to stretch it out beyond what you had budgeted, but maybe if you just could spend a moment, if you have it, with regards to which tool I know a lot of our Low Voltage Nation partners do a lot of work with cameras and security, and which tool would be the best for them to use that would help them with their camera work, and what that has the applications that, I'm not technical, but that would have the applications that allow them to get into the cameras, program the cameras, and get the most functionality.
Yeah, so that'd be the Link Runner G2 or the Link Runner 10 gig would be the best products there for running the apps, because it's for having all the testing capability, all the cable testing, all the PoE, all the network testing, all the reporting, and then in addition having the ability to run. That's interesting. Having the ability to run. Okay, got it. Sorry. and then having the ability to run the vendor apps for yeah, exactly, positioning the camera or whatever.
Cool. Just looking for more questions if there are any.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you got James, you got a rare treat to have somebody that has James' level of knowledge. If anybody wants to ask questions, ask them now, because
yeah.
And I'm happy to come back at some time in the future if you just want to, you know, as you saw, I'm trying not to, you know, I mean, at the end of the day, my real goal here was to kind of educate you on some of the stuff I saw about cable lengths and N-based T and PoE, right? You know, the product stuff is a little, you know, I won't say secondary to me because I got to make a living, but you know, I'm really as interested in advancing the cause for everybody.
So Raymond Klein has a question. It says, will it offer a warranty on Fluke branded testers? Did I ask that correctly, Ray? I can let you ask the question, actually.
Yeah, no, we're not, you know, that's actually 2 companies ago for us, because we had the 3 years as NetScout. So yeah, that's just kind of out of our zone.
Gotcha. Did that answer the question, Ray? I'll let you talk if you're available. Yeah, I think that answered the question. Okay, cool. Well, man, I appreciate your time, James. I really enjoyed the technical stuff, and I appreciate you going over all of that, because, you know, this is obviously we're trying to promote the product, but understanding like the technical stuff, because I'm a super nerd, at least I think I am, and I really appreciate all that overview. So thank you for your time. Did anybody else have any questions or any comments they wanted to kind of close out with?
I put them all to sleep.
No, they're not.
So I have just one thing to add, Dan Critch here. So again, you get this product, you know, there's great support. Besides, I mean, I support all the people in my territory where it is, but you can call into for help. They have great videos as well. Just there's nothing like this product. If you search for it, you go out there, you know, it's an amazing product. James put so much time and effort into it. He's an amazing inventor, and you know, you're not going to go wrong. You know, making the investment, it definitely will pay back for you. That's all I have to tell you. I've seen it for the last 20 years. I've sold so many of these things. They work, and they, you know, I have guys that have the original One Touch. They were so upset that they moved on from that because they were such a great product. It was such a, you know, workhorse for them. So it's just,
workhorse is a good term. I mean, we try to just, we got the same ruggedness standards as Fluke. I mean, we're running a lot of the same processes, right? Drop tests, shock, vibration, humidity, temperature. So yeah. It you know, we get stuff that's just, I mean, and you guys know how hard it is just on instruments out there. So, but we're basically Fluke grade, I'd say, for sure.
Right. Well, it's been an honor to have you on, CTO of NetAlly, and man, your accomplishments and all the technical stuff that you have up in your brain is just, it's quite remarkable. And I'm very, very glad you came on. So thank you so much, James.
Yeah, well, hey, I appreciate the invite, and whenever you're ready for more, let me know. And
absolutely.
All right.
Cool. Well, thanks everybody. Thanks everybody for attending. Everybody have a good day. Okay.
Thank you, everybody. All right. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.